Yes, the state fish of Hawaii is known as the reef triggerfish to our friends out there, otherwise known as the Humuhumu Unu Kunu Kuapua. I remember I've been told, yeah, there are lots of people putting that, but I mean, it's a beautiful fish, and it's probably easier to say like reef triggerfish, but it's a beautiful word too.
Say it again.
Okay, well, I got to get my phone. Humu Humu. The reef triggerfish, state fish of Hawaii, is the Humu Humu Unu Kunu Kuapua. Very nice.
Say it again.
It did.
I just got to hear it again.
Mayor Alex loving it. Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor, is it just easier to say Putitano Bu if you're like on Guam rather than, probably the scientific name of whatever?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It sure is. Even sometimes that's wrong.
Yeah. We're anticipating the arrival of a couple more mayors, but can I just ask you while you're here, has there ever been like any proposal or, have you ever discussed with your fellow mayors on the council about maybe every village maybe having, maybe its own flower, its own, I mean, we can't have like a state bird because I guess there aren't that many species to divide amongst
the sticker bird.
Yeah, but have you ever talked about?
We have a flower. The villages have a flower.
They do.
Yeah, every has a flower. Yeah. Yeah.
What is the flower of Petey?
The white plumeria, Kalatutsa.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Yeah, I should know this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
All the elementary and middle school kids for I've been involved with the council since 1990, and every year we have a list so that whoever answers the phone just repeats the whole thing, because there's some Chamorro teacher or some Guam history teacher that asks the same thing: population, village flower, historical sites, how the name was derived, the village name was derived. We're older, that's why.
Yeah. Mayor, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Obviously, memory starts to fade.
Let's get into it before Jason takes you down another tangent road. But we did bring you on to ask for an update about this issue with the I hate calling them tiny homes, but the tiny homes over there at the Nimitz Hill Cemetery. And so I know you had a meeting. Who was your meeting with? Was it with the chief of staff and the director of DPR?
The deputy director of DPR.
See Victor Villagomez now?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I was pleased that they reached out to me on the issue, and where we agreed that the current situation is, it's a little touchy, right? Because those grieving families spent the money to put those monuments up, and we know how that all goes as far as grieving and dealing with the loss of a family member. And so I think we're looking at keeping those existing structures there, and moving forward, the department will strictly enforce their policy. And their policy is listed in the forms that the residents sign at the funeral homes or even at the department. So again, it doesn't rest on the backs of the funeral homes, but we do know that the funeral homes are they originate those requests to DPR. But it'll be DPR's responsibility to manage that from here on out. So is that a reasonable request on my end? It seems to be a reasonable request, because it almost seems unreasonable for me to go and to all those families and say, okay, after you spent all this money and this time, go and just destroy them. Does it go against their policy? Yeah, I'm sure it goes against their policy. So, I don't know. I think there's definitely a humanitarian side to all of that, right? And so are they built to code? Well, most of them are on concrete structures, right? Or concrete foundations. So, I saw that myself. And if we're dealing with the tin roofs that are going to fall off, then, unfortunately, we'll deal with it when we have to deal with it. And hopefully they can meet us halfway. So my request is this, to extend the wall, the concrete wall that they have at the very entrance of the property, further down to the Nimitz Estate, the so that the perimeter is properly barricaded and there's a good fencing around the cemetery,
Right.
and then to add a gate in the front, and so that there's a true entrance and exit to the cemetery, and that way there's better monitoring, because as it is now, I mean, anyone can drive in at any time, and their claim that they go in the evening. Well, perhaps if this is done, there'll be actual times where residents or patrons can actually enter the cemetery. And is it COVID related? I believe it can be connected to COVID, because those structures that we're talking about now, they claim that they're COVID related deaths. And so I certainly can put a connection to ARPA. So if you can, if that's the case, then perhaps, the DPR and the administration can connect that. And that's certainly, I think, a good use of those monies.
Did anyone get chewed out, Mayor, for letting this happen? Because it's like Sabrina keeps saying, it didn't happen overnight.
Who chewed out who? Me?
No, not you. Maybe DPR. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just feel like, and I did tell him yesterday. I said, in the end, it's DPR who's going to have to answer to the patrons and to the residents and to the media.
Right. Well, they're not coming on to me.
For me, again, it really is the safety of the residents in Nimitz Estates. Right. But at the same time, and I honestly, and I was very honest with them. I said I did receive a few calls from families up there, and of course, it's not my stance to just demolish everything they've worked hard to do. That's not the purpose. I think the purpose is to stick by the policy and to make sure that the policy is enforced. And like a lot of things we do in the government, we kind of have to backtrack, and then we say, well, okay, from here on out. And so if it's going to be from here on out, then at least I'll keep more eyes on that as
right.
well,
Yeah.
Because it affects us.
Yeah.
So is it final then, based on what you guys discussed with Victor? Is that it? Because that kind of goes against what
right.
the governor's chief of staff
John Jr.
said,
Calvo,
that they had to come down.
And that's where I said perhaps DPR would have to answer to that, because based on my meeting and my understanding yesterday, that is final.
All right. So there you go. Everything we talked about
That
at
they
6
get to
o'clock
stay
hour,
up and going forward, no more mini homes.
reverse it. Yeah. So then that's what Bree's referencing, is there had been a letter from the director, DPR director, Mr. Alcantara, and he basically said that John Jr. Calvo told him to tell the people who built these tiny homes to tear them down, which seemed a little hard-hearted to me. So it's interesting to see that there's a reversal. But let me ask you this, Mayor. Is there enough space there to consider, and would you guys consider just allowing people to build these things? Because I think it's something that attracts people. I know so many people, after we aired these stories, went up to the cemetery just to look at the stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did. We noticed.
It's
that.
like a new tourist. I mean, it's like a new attraction for the locals.
You know what I'm thinking is maybe not that, but I think they need to build crypts so that it goes up. As opposed to going down, because I mean, pretty soon they're going to be right down here. I mean, that hill goes down.
Right,
It's gonna stop at one point. And so I just no, I think the regulations should stand. I really feel like that those things should be regulated. It is a public cemetery, and so just because it's a public cemetery, I don't think it should be open to anything and any imagination. I think that there needs to be some parameters, and in order to maintain control. And so I just of course, like I said, after that conversation, I'm definitely more I'm going to definitely be looking at and making sure that that we follow those policy guidelines, because it is get out of hand.
Right.
I mean, if they continue to build it that way, I mean, shoot, I know you guys went up there. I mean, that's just it's crazy.
Yeah, well, we saw in the B-roll that played in the story that there were some that were actually still under construction.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing is that there's people up further in the at the entrance of the cemetery that have been there for decades. And so what do you do with that? Do there's precedents that was set, right? So I can understand the department backtracking and saying, okay, I guess we're going to have to keep it status quo. And I know, Bree, you reported that, and you mentioned status quo, and I thought, yeah, that's probably what it's going to be. And that's probably what what the results will be. And then that, in fact, it was. So, again, I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure that we continue to monitor that, because we don't want to get I don't want to see it get out of hand.
Yeah, my mom's brother and sister are buried up there,
Yes.
but they're more in the beginning, and I think I also have a nephew up there too. More in the beginning part. So I mean, when we go there, I went there for All Souls the day last year to clean up. I didn't see anything, but it's further down, right?
Oh yeah, it's for the. Oh, it wasn't there at All Souls Day. I don't believe it was there.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it. We just noticed them. Gosh, maybe just this year. Yeah. So. Yeah, here on out is what it is, I guess. From here on out is what it's going to be. I don't know. I don't think that's going to change.
All right. Well, thanks,
But
Mayor.
if I could say, I mean, if we're looking at policing it, and I'm not, of course, I'm advocating for my community on this point, that wall does need to get built. I mean,
build the
because
wall.
yeah. Oh, I like that. I think we're gonna do that.
I want to go ahead and say I think somebody's used that before
Yeah, maybe.
in fairly recent history, and it did not go over well,
man.
depending who you ask.
Oh God, yeah.
Mayor, though, we had
I
a
was gonna
comment.
come in and say Viva Friday. We work tomorrow, but
Mayor, we had Rosemary comment, and so those that are currently being built will be allowed to continue. Did you get any update on that part of it, Mayor?
you know what? I did not, and she does bring a good point. I did not, and I could probably, I'll go and take a visual inspection and then speak with them. But no, I don't. I did not get. I didn't ask that question.
Chris Cave comments in. They're beautiful. Reminds me of Saipan Cemetery.
Ah, yeah,
Mm.
true. That's true. It does, but I mean, but in Saipan Cemetery, I don't think they have houses though. I think they just build these, shrine-looking, shrine-looking monuments. It's not a home.
Yeah.
They build shrines with there is a home up there that they think they put the Sacred Heart of Jesus up at the top with angels.
Wow.
So I don't.
Mayor,
Yeah,
what about the economic side of
I
this?
think Saipan is.
What about the economic side of this equation, right? So it's a public cemetery, and so obviously people were buried there, maybe not coming from the richest background, right? And they're trying to pay tribute to their loved ones, which is something that is usually reserved for those who are more well off because they could afford to build, a big monument, shrine. Do you think that was part of it, in that we got a more compassionate ending to this, whereas the chief of staff was just kind of grinchy about it a couple days ago?
Well, I mean, it's a public cemetery, you're right, and it is at a lower cost than the private cemeteries. But I would hope to think that if you're a patron of that cemetery, that you would spend in the most reasonable way. And so this is just my personal thought about that. Is it the most reasonable way? Probably not. Again, no offense to the families that have done that or who are considering it, but if in fact you were going to spend all that money, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps there could have been another cemetery that you could have invested your money in and laid your.
Good point.
But
Touché.
no, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that. I don't know what everyone has their own reasons as to why they would do that, right? But would you? Again, it is a public cemetery, so you don't. Gosh. Okay, you're gonna make me stuck because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that if you're gonna go there, you just need to make within reason, right? And building those structures perhaps Again, it's my personal feeling that it's not within reason. But for them, they have their own reasons, and they have their own ways of thinking as to how best to memorialize their loved one, and
Right.
perhaps that's the way. But if in fact it is, then it needs to be more secure, and it needs to, they need to be sure that it's safe for the people around them that come to visit their loved ones, and for
Right.
the neighbors.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest issue was that you saw in some of these pictures where they're building these big houses that they're encroaching on the graves next to
Yeah.
these structures. So for me, that's just kind of inconsiderate, and that I mean, you don't want to be going to check your auntie there, your beloved auntie, God rest her soul, and you're having to like squeeze in sideways to put a flower on there. You know what I mean?
Well,
Our
hopefully
people.
the other house has aircon.
Mayor Alec, I know we're getting you on Monday, so I don't know if you want to just hold on till Monday. But is there anything else you got going on?
Yeah, we could hold off till Monday. I mean, unless you want to go to something else.
Bree, you have anything or what?
No, I think I can wait till Monday.
Okay,
I really wanted to get the final word on what's happening with the cemetery.
right. Okay.
So
Okay.
thanks,
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mayor.
Well, I mean,
Oh
if you
wait,
want,
you guys
there
get
is
COVID
something.
pay?
Yeah, did you get your COVID pay?
What's up?
No COVID pay. If you have time for me, I could talk about something. It'll just take away from Monday.
Yeah, well, minus
But
it out
no
on
one has
Monday.
asked. Well, yeah, minus that. You guys never asked me about senior citizen centers.
Yeah, because we're
Yes.
confused about it.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes.
That's the big deal. And I was, me, I'm just kind of writing it all down, waiting for Monday, so I have something to talk about. But I might as well tell you now. So that was that executive order.
Yeah.
It caught me by surprise, like my big eyes. So July 1st, the executive order said July 1st was supposed to be the opening. And we did have I had a long discussion with the administrator of Division of Senior Citizens, together with our operators for ADC, adult daycare, and the senior center operations. And so we really agreed on what we thought was a workable plan to reopen the centers. And so we agreed that we need to open now, because our manamko need to come out for those that are ready. But we're not prepared. We're not prepared because the centers are not equipped with the safety equipment. Our adult daycare centers are not, they're also not outfitted with, especially with the adult daycare, they're not outfitted with the air filtration systems, and then the access, right? There needs to be a separate entrance and a separate exit. So all of that is being worked on. We never really stopped doing it. What I think everyone needs to know is that there's two parts to this Manamku program. It's the adult daycare that has the what is it called? Where they need assistance through the entire time that they're there. We also have the dementia house, and so that is separate from the senior citizens operation, right? And so we're looking at opening the adult daycares first. And we're definitely looking towards an October 1st opening for all the centers. And the reason why October 1st is because everything's being put through procurement now as far as the supplies. And we were also waiting on guidance from the grantor from Region 9 and how we were to safely open, right? Because this is a federal program. It's not something that's local. And we do respect the governor's decision to open. We appreciate that the governor, is allowing us to start July 1st, so that, in case we're ready, at least with adult daycare centers, we can open that, because we do know that families need to send their elders to this daycare. And so that's definitely something that we're working on, that we've been working on. And then the other component to the opening of the senior centers is the congregate meals. So pre-COVID, the congregate meals were only for those senior citizens that were participants of the senior centers, of the 12 senior centers. And if you were receiving a meal because you were homebound, then that was a separate program. But because of COVID, the congregate meal program, that's not the actual name, but there's a title to that. That program increased over 50%. And so that tells us that more Manamco are needing assistance with meals at home during COVID, and we're still in the pandemic. If we open our centers July 1st, what that means is those people that are delivering the meals on a daily basis, over 1,000 meals, are going to be delivering the meals and operating the centers, because those delivery drivers are the people that actually operate the 12 centers. So again, it's a juggling act. It's taking away from our staff as short as it already is. So we're not asking for more personnel. We're going to work on how we're going to work on a plan, and that's what we're doing now. Is we're trying to figure out what's going to be best, not only for our office but for our centers. And so again, a lot of times people think it's the mayors to make that decision. It's not. We work together with the Division of Senior Citizens and the grantor, and once all those guidelines are met, based on what the Division of Senior Citizens has received, then we let the governor know, and we'll be good to go. So there's a lot of work to it. What I'll be doing on Monday is hopefully presenting the governor a plan, a phased-in approach plan, really, to this opening, because we want everyone to know what we're doing, and that we're not just really just sitting here waiting, not wanting to open the centers. So that was a big conversation, and I'm not sure how that did not get to where it's supposed to go, but in the end, that's the answer. Where there's no mayor that's ready to open their center as of today, or even July 1st.
So basically, you guys were just blindsided by the governor making this announcement. July 1st. Nobody communicated anything to the mayors that was their intention.
You could use that word. What I said, but I guess it basically tells us that I think what the director was saying was that we may open, right? So it's not. She didn't say that we had to open, and so. Right. And so be it, right? And that's what I'm saying as well, is that perhaps this gives us the opportunity then to say, well, if our adult daycare centers are open, because she's allowing us to open, then we could open them first. But it certainly couldn't be the senior citizen centers where they play bingo and they're there. So the other thing, so they're like, again, the adult daycare, that's a whole different program, and that's
right.
That's system, right? But the other thing too is in talking about congregate meals is that if we have to work out a plan for those that continue to receive meals at home, right, during COVID. And so if the guidelines say we have to let them know that they have to come to the center, so how do we deal with that? How do we deal with the Manamco that don't drive, and we deal with the Manamco that is just is not prepared to get up every day to drive to the center, to the drive-through, and pick up their meal? It's a service that I think we should not make inconvenient. So all of that is what we're working on. So it's just more than just opening the door and letting them come into the bingo. That's what I've been working on.
Wow. Sounds like you guys need to reacquaint yourselves with the mayor's liaison up at Adelup.
Oh yeah, Bob Macho.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a guy who's not doing his job. Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah, we did have Mayor Hoffman on earlier this week, and he, it was crazy because he was talking about. We asked him about the seniors.
Liaison.
And he was like, not.
Yeah.
He was saying, you're not ready. How do you even take into account the social distancing, the facilities?
Yeah.
They're not the way they are. They can't fit everybody into the senior centers. And then you need more staff. And all of this takes money. And the mayor's council and mayors,
can't even
with
get the
everything
COVID
that you guys have been doing, where are you going to get the money?
So the
ARPA money is not.
Right. We're not asking, we don't want to, I mean, they're just not going to give us more staff. I mean, you ask for warm bodies and they're going to throw you ice. So I think what we're hoping to do is we're hoping to contract the janitorial and the sanitization part of it, right? Because that's something that will come from the grantors and something that's part of, should be part of the stimulus, right? The federal stimulus package. So that's what we're looking at, is to contract that out so that we know that the centers are fully sanitized, properly sanitized, and in the beginning and at the end of the day, and not relying on our staff, on our mayor's staff, and not requiring us to hire. So hopefully that route works. So we're looking at that, and then of course with the other equipment as well, because if we're looking at temporary as opposed to, if it's a temporary part of the program, then we want to contract it out. If it's going to be permanent, then we want to make sure that it's something that is an outright purchase. So if it's when we're looking at equipment rental, that's instead of having to purchase it, because what is our issue again is going to be storage. Where are we going to put all that stuff? We don't, even Homeland Security is asking us to store stuff, and we don't have facilities in our, within our jurisdictions. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot that we're working on to get the centers moving. So I'm hoping then to also present this plan to the mayors with the 12 centers so that we can discuss it with them as well. We have not, again, it was just a discussion that we had this week with the Division of Senior Citizens Administrators. So it's fairly new as far as updates, but we've been working on the programs.
Right on. Bree, anything else?
All right. Thanks, Mayor.
You're welcome.
No, he sounds like he's got a lot of work to do. So
Yeah, it sounds like
go.
it sounds like someone needs to give the governor you guys his number, because they're not. But this is a recurring thing we heard through the pandemic. A day, no one checks our mayors. Mosqueda and ask, hey, mayors, how are you guys with opening the senior centers? The odds at a day.
Well, at least we're communicating with the Division of Senior Citizens, because they're the ones who are going to give us the key. Oh no, we have the key. They have the money.
A day. All right, Mayor Alec. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Okay, adios.
There you go.
Hi, Mayor.
Mayor Jesse Alec, the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam. Interesting stuff, Hubbry. I wanted to pop this picture up, guys. Can we pop this picture up? Because, okay, so we're talking about this. We were talking about this. What is the name of the cemetery, Bree, the one in Petey? The public cemetery?
It's Vicente Limtiaco.
Oh, yeah, Limtiaco Cemetery. So, I had a message on my Instagram, and this lady, she doesn't want me to say her name, but she actually has someone who's buried there. And she messaged me. She's like, Chris, I thought you should know. I emailed DPR to see this burial policy. It turns out I've never seen the form before. Neither have family members who recently buried loved ones there. I don't even recall the funeral home talking to me about these policies. It could be some miscommunication between the funeral and individuals. Also, they keep saying there's a sign posted at the cemetery that has the rules and regs on it. Here's the sign. You got the sign? Can we pop with the sign? Yeah. Delania, how are you going to read those rules and regs? Yeah. And DPR and Adeloop's like, it's clearly written at the cemetery, the rules and regs. What's the matter? You people can't read? You don't know how to read? If that's not an ultimate only on Guam, I don't know what is. All right. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we're coming back on KUAM TV next. On this Friday morning, it's The Link. Good morning.
We got your 6.
At 6 a.m. with The Link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between.